Hi. Hi, I'm Chair from the Marathon Mates. On this episode, we are helping Tony pack his bags as he gets ready to depart for his long-awaited trip to Europe with his family. With a stop in Amsterdam to run the marathon, we're all very jealous for Tony and his family. With the race starting and finishing in the Olympic Stadium, the Amsterdam Marathon is one of Europe's most iconic races, running past UNESCO listed canals and historic bridges on what is a flat and fast course. Tony's going to be in for an awesome experience, and Sharon as well. We'll be discussing everything from the Expo to the finish line and everything in between. As we keep on saying, we are the only podcast in the world with 4 7-star world marathon major finishes. We have the experience and the knowledge and definitely know a thing or two about running around the world. This is a Flying Runr podcast. Are you ready to run? Let's go!
Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying Runr, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Flying Runr. I'm the Chief from Marathon Mates, and this is episode 118. And tonight we're talking about the TCS Amsterdam Marathon, one of Europe's biggest marathons and iconic, and a World Athletics Platinum road running event. Set in the iconic city of Amsterdam with history all around the race has vibes like no other. With huge crowds and an awesome race experience, we're all very excited to see Tony take on this iconic event. On this episode, we are going to talk everything from the Expo to the finish line and everything in between. But just before we do any of that, let me introduce you to my co-hosts. We've got Team Ellis, Tara and Tim, and of course Tony. Guys, how's everyone been? And most importantly, how's the week been? We'll start off with Team Ellis.
Excellent. Yeah, we've had a good week, haven't we, Tim? It's been very... you've actually been running a lot during the week.
Hang on, have I been doing midweek running, Tara?
I might have lit a fire under him when I said that a couple of episodes ago, because he's now midweek running again. No, in all honesty, he's actually trying to catch up to me. We plan on finishing our Run Down Under event, our Run Down Under journey this Sunday. I don't know what that will be in relation to when you guys listen to it, but at the GC50 event, we'll be doing the half marathon, so we'll be finishing that. So Tim had to catch me on a few kilometres. We did park run on Saturday, where I ran with a good friend of ours, Grant, and got him to a new park run PB for the year. And we did a long run today, which is a public holiday instead of on a Sunday. What we call a long run, it's not really. I did 12 Ks, Tim did 18. Just sort of maintenance more than anything, running to feel, not pushing it too hard.
Easy,
yep. And we've got pretty sore bodies anyway because we've moved 7 cubic meters of soil and mulch over the weekend. So I know muscles that I didn't know I had now. But yeah, we've had a good week.
Yeah, we've had a good week. Parkrun was good. I went sub 25 minutes again, so I'm happy with that. Faster than I did 2 weeks last week. Anyway, faster than last week, so that's a good thing. So I'm getting a bit of speed back, which I'm happy about.
Excellent. And Tony?
So just to correct a couple of things, right? So 12K is a long run for a lot of people. So for all those people that are out there doing their long runs of 12K, well done. Keep it up. Don't allow anyone to say that is not a long run.
I apologize. It's not marathon long run training. It's
not your normal long run. So,
yes, but it is a long run. Yes.
12K would still be quite a decent long run. So, hey, for Sharon and I, we're just now, we tried to run on the weekend. I've got a really sore Achilles on my left leg. In fact, my Strava status called it as, I thought my Strava description was, I thought Achilles was a god, not a screaming little bee at the end of my left leg. So, yeah, so now it's just rest. It's just rest until we head off. So this comes out Friday. We'll have 4 more days in Brizzy before we fly out for Amsterdam. So just really looking forward to getting away, getting out of work, and just hoping that the inspiration on the day will get us through some of the pain that no doubt we are going to feel, but really excited and can't wait.
Excellent. I had a better run week than I've had for the past couple of weeks, so happy with that. So my longest run of the week was 10 Ks on Sunday, so body didn't feel too bad. So happy with how it's going. So hopefully it's the start of me getting back into my groove of running, because I felt I lost it a bit after Sydney, but it tends to happen after big events. Well, at least for me. Anyway. Well, thanks, guys.
So does that mean you're now in like transition stage?
No, I think I'm going to call it maintenance stage, Tony.
Oh, okay. I like maintenance stage.
Pre-maintenance, post-maintenance.
Mate, no, I'm not going to go with the pre or post, just maintenance, and I'll slowly start building myself up, because I've got a grand plan. I don't know why I do some of the crap I do, but a Queensland brand, but Australia wide, and I believe it's global. Well, at least in the US, LSKD. They do this thing on the 1st of January, and I did it last year. I did it this year, 25 Ks for 2025, but I only got up to 20 Ks this year. So next year they're doing 26 Ks on the 1st of January 2026. So for some reason, I figure, why not do something stupid like that on New Year's Day?
Good on you.
That's a long run.
That one. That one is definitely a long run. Thanks, guys. Now it's the time of the week where we talk about the news. Tim, what's been happening around the world this week?
All right, thanks, Lucia. This is a big bit of news that's happened this week, and it's an interesting one. The news this week is Strava, the app that we all tend to use as our social media for runners. It has decided that it's time to sue Garmin for patent infringement. It claims Garmin's segments and heat maps are features that have been ripped off from Strava and are against the patents that Strava owns. Strava is looking to block the sale of Garmin's infringing tech, which means they won't be able to sell their watches and devices and GPS devices that contain access to be able to create segments and heat maps. It's happening in the US because Strava is alleging that the fitness hardware brand has infringed on Strava's patents and breached a master cooperation agreement between the duo, which was reached back in 2015. The patents relate to Strava's segments and heat map features, as I said, and they allow runners and cyclists to compare their performance against sections of routes and see which routes that are particularly popular with other athletes, respectively. Garmin and Strava both offer variations in these features, but Strava argues Garmin's versions are in violation of their cooperation agreement, and as such, Strava is not only seeking financial damages, it has also requested an injunction to stop selling Garmin products that support those features. Now, this is the really interesting part with it. Garmin's heat map feature actually dates back to 2013, predating the 2014 and 2016 patents that Strava mentions in its lawsuits. And as for the segments feature, Garmin debuted that in 2013, which is after Strava filed a patent in 2011. So I guess we'll just have to watch and see what happens. Now, it is pretty huge, but there's also another part to it, which we can see as well in the media. And a bit of it is around Garmin has requested that when data is transferred to Strava, that there is recognition that it comes from Garmin as a source. Strava has said, no, we don't want to do that because that will provide free advertising to Garmin. So it's a little bit of a tit for tat type situation there, where Strava doesn't want to be giving Garmin free advertising on its pages, on its app. So I don't know, guys. It's a little bit interesting. It could be massive. It could all just fizzle out, which I think it probably will, and wiser heads will prevail and decide to sort each other out financially. But what are your thoughts? I know, Tony, you had some thoughts on this during the week when I sent it through.
Yeah, I did. I find it really interesting, and I don't think Strava's got, I'm not a legal mind at all, but I would think the heat map is going to be a really hard one for them to win in court. But when they talk about Garmin requiring Strava to show the source, currently Strava already does that. So it says that the source is a Garmin Forerunner 955 on my Strava. What Garmin is actually asking for is to put its logo there, the Garmin Connect logo. And I can probably understand then that Strava are probably seeing that as a little bit of free advertising, and it's going to ruin a lot of feeds because the Garmin Connect logo is going to be like sitting there. So I sort of get that. But I think also there's a little bit of this Garmin Connect Plus that Garmin launched this year, the paid version of Garmin Connect. So I think there's a little bit of each other encroaching each other's accepted turf, and they're just going to see what happens in a court of law. So, yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
My thought is, if Strava can sue Garmin, we should be able to sue Garmin, because how many times have we said on this podcast, and I know other people say, that Garmin's on crack? Because a good example is with the race predictor. Some of the times it has me in doing a marathon. I'm like, Garmin, you got to be on crack. But on a serious note, I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't think anything will come of it, but I think it's just Strava trying to flex its muscles, especially now that it's being bought by Runner as well. I think they're just trying to stamp their authority a bit, possibly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think also that if Garmin really wanted to, it could say, okay, no worries, we won't send any data to Strava, and we'll just keep it all in-house and develop our app a little bit further through this Garmin Plus, and we'll go from there and create our own version of Strava. And it wouldn't take them very much to do that. They already have that, essentially all the features there already within Garmin. And I think maybe that's what Strava's really quite worried about, is that it doesn't take much, as you said, Tony, for them to do it. And with this new version of Garmin Plus, maybe that is what they're ultimately worried about. But, you know, it's going to be an interesting one. Yeah. All right. The other bit of news I've got, this is Chicago Marathon week, guys. Chicago Marathon is this weekend. We released this episode on Friday. It is on Sunday. So some big news, no surprises, but big news anyway. Daniel Romanchuk is out of the wheelchair marathon, the men's wheelchair marathon. It was announced this week that the three-time Bank of America Chicago Marathon champion Daniel Romanchuk has withdrawn from this year's race due to the injury he succumbed during the TCS Sydney Marathon when a spectator walked out onto the course and he collided with that person. He said, I'm incredibly disappointed that I won't be able to compete in the Bank of America Chicago Marathon next week due to the recently sustained shoulder injury. Chicago was my first major marathon and my first Abbott's World Major Marathon win. And as a member of the University of Illinois training group, it feels like I'm missing my hometown race. I'm focusing on rehab and supporting my wife as she runs this year, but I'm already eagerly anticipating being back racing the streets of Chicago in 2026. So that's an interesting one. That's a big out for this year, and it's a shame that, as we've said in past episodes, a spectator running out of the course can ruin it for everyone else. And just some other news on Chicago. One of the things which we probably haven't talked about in the past is Chicago is actually one of three races in what they call the Chicago distance series. And basically the distance series is the Chicago 13.1 or half marathon, the Shamrock Shuffle 8K run, and also the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. And if you complete all three of those races in a calendar year, you get a special medal, and you also, on top of that, get an application or an entry into the following year's Chicago Marathon as well. So anyone who's wanting to take part in those three races, the registration for the Chicago 13.1 and the Shamrock Shuffle is now open with special discounted pricing. So if you are interested, you have until 2 p.m. on Tuesday, November 18 to apply for either of those races. And then obviously once the Chicago Marathon ballot and drawing comes out, you can do that as well. The Chicago Marathon ballot will commence on the, the 18th of November and goes through to the 11th of December. It opens on the 21st of October and goes through to December 11th. So when you can put your applications in for that. So I wish I lived in Chicago, because this would be a challenge that would be right up our alley, wouldn't it, Tara?
Definitely. It sounds like a good one.
Yeah, and we saw the medals last year for the people doing the Chicago series, distance series, and they looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely one I'd love to do. All right, that's the news this week, guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. So now it's time to talk about the TCS Amsterdam Marathon. As we keep saying, the weekends for the marathon always starts with the Expo. And to be honest, Chicago does have one of the best expos out there. Now, I know you guys are going to be disappointed, but as I'm hosting, I'm going to pass the Expo review over to Tony. Tony, what can our listeners expect to see when they attend the Amsterdam Marathon Expo?
The Marathon Expo at Amsterdam looks really good, Luch. I think you would enjoy it. So it's powered by a company called Run Today, and it's called the International Marathon Expo. It's held at the RAI Amsterdam, which is just south of the downtown area. It's got more than 50 national and international exhibitors, sponsors and suppliers of the TCS Amsterdam Marathon. It will, of course, be there. But a huge range of organisations. All participants for the marathon must, and associated races, must collect their bib there. The race bib and any pre-ordered extras such as the Mizuno race shirt or bib bits can be picked up by the personal QR code, and the QR code will be sent to all participants in early October by email, and will also be available in the TCS Amsterdam Marathon app. Pleasingly, if you actually cannot make the Marathon Expo yourself, you can actually authorize someone else to pick up your race bib for you. And all they need is a copy of your race bib email. So I think that's a positive. So, and with over 30,000 participants this year in Amsterdam, and with the nature of the flights in Europe at the moment, it's probably a good idea. So the opening hours are Thursday from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock of the evening. It's all 24-hour time when you go to Amsterdam. Everything is in 24-hour time, but I'll put it into the way we talk about it with the 12-hour clock. On Friday, it's 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock. On Saturday, it's 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And of course, it's closed on Sunday. Now, there's a multiple of ways to get there. You can get there by tram, metro, or bus. I'm not going to go into the detail of that, but it does sound relatively straightforward and single line connections most of the way. Now, when you look at the exhibitors, Mizuno is the branding sponsor, the clothing and footwear sponsor. But you'll also see New Balance there. You'll see Say Sky. You'll see Second Skin. Morton will be there. Beat It. Pillar Nutrition will be there. Double XL Nutrition will be there. There's official TCS Amsterdam Marathon merch. Polar, Shocks, just to name a few. Mizuno, Food Balance, New Balance. So it promises to be a decent expo. You know, I'm really quite excited about it. There's a lot of European brands that I didn't read out because, you know, obviously I can't read out names that are a bit foreign to me, but I'm looking forward to seeing them. So it is going to be very, very exciting and to see a lot of new and different brands, Lucia. Back to you.
I wonder if they're going to have like little cafes which might have cookies or cake. I think that's going to be interesting to see. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, no, can't wait.
So the other thing would be interesting is I don't think I've ever been to a race before which is sponsored by Mizuno. So it would be quite interesting to see how Mizuno stacks up with their race gear. Good Japanese brand, good quality gear. So it'd be interesting to see how they stack up on their merch.
Yeah, the race shirt is red, which is an interesting color. I don't think I've got too many red running shirts. But I can't wait to report back and tell you more about the merch there. Or I might even do a Facebook Live while I'm over there running around the merch just so Lucia can go and wish she was there.
Oh, God, excellent. Thanks, Sadie. So now it's time to have a look at what's going to actually be happening over the weekend. Tara, what else is on in Amsterdam? Like, do they have any other races or is it just the marathon?
Do they have other races? This is a race that has every available race before it known to mankind, I think. So on the Saturday, they've got what's called the Amsterdam City Walk. They've got a 10, 14, 17, 20, 26 and 33 kilometre walk. So all those different lengths. And it's just walking around the city to get to know it. 17, 20 and the 20, 26 and 33 start from the iconic Olympic Stadium. The 14K ones will start around the corner of Wester Park, and the Rembrandtplein is the heart of the city, is going to be the start of the 10K.
See, Tara doesn't mind foreign names.
Anyway, it's suitable for everyone because it is just a walk, it's not a run. The field of participants vary from year to year. Obviously, if you're going to be doing the 33K walk the day before a marathon, I think you're pretty game. But anyway, they have different pricing. So the pricing will go for between €16 to €20, depending on which distance you're walking. And with that price, you get a stamp card for you to pick which you pick up at your start location, an app with the information, cozy stops along the way where you get something tasty. Now, that might be where you get your cookie, Lucia. And apparently it's an atmospheric start and finish location. If you're not walking it, you can do what is called the Good Morning City Run. So there's two options for that. It's a 6.5 and a 3.5K. The entry is €17.50, and they start between 9 and 9:30 for the 6.5, and the 3.5 starts at 9:45. It's at the Museumplein, which is near the Rembrandt van Gogh kiosk. And they also have a clothing drop off if you wanted to. And in your entry fee for that one, you'll get a unique wristband, medical support, and a voucher for a coffee or tea, and a snack bar after the run. Now, wonder if that snack bar is the cookie. Who knows?
Not saying anything.
Later on in the day, there's a 1K and a 1.6K race for the kids, and then it's a 7.5K TCS race. The TCS 7.5 is what we would do as our normal 5K run the day before a normal marathon. So all the other ones are just bonuses. This is the one that you do
for the medal.
This one here is going to be run on Saturday the 18th at 2:00 in the afternoon. So it's quite a late start. The highlight of the course includes a loop through the Vondelpark, where you can undoubtedly expect plenty of encouragement from the crowd. And you finish in the iconic Olympic Stadium, which will be really, really good because you get a special medal that marks 750 years of Amsterdam. So that would be a very nice little memento if you want to do that one, Tony. 5 waves of runners. The last wave departs at 1 o'clock, and 3 o'clock, sorry, and you have to complete the run in 1 hour. So you have 1 hour to do 7.5K, so it can't be a walk, obviously. You've got water stations around about 5Ks into the course, and you've got toilets and first aid as well. And believe it or not, there's another race.
But before you move on, my young fella's running the 7.5, so we're going to be spending. Yeah, we're going to be spending the time cheering him on, and hopefully we'll. When you look at the actual course itself, when it goes through the Vondelpark, you'll actually get to see him twice, and then of course he's going to be finishing in the stadium, which is pretty cool.
Excellent. You have to show us the medal afterwards so we can see it.
They have late starts over there. 2 o'clock for the 7.5K race, and you'll hear shortly how late the half marathon starts, which is rare for us, but I guess over there days are different lengths, I guess.
Yeah, so the half marathon is apparently the Mizuno half marathon is the biggest half marathon of the Netherlands and is part of the marathon, obviously, the TCS Amsterdam Marathon. It consists of one loop, most of which passes through the attractive centre of Amsterdam. It goes through all these places that I'm not even going to try and pronounce, but it goes over a bridge over a river. I'm going to be like Tony and just ignore those names because they're even out of my league now.
Yeah, the Amstel River is the river.
Thank you, the Amstel River, yep. The course is a good part of the full marathon anyway. So it starts at 1:20. So that is really late to be starting a half marathon. You've got a time limit of 3 hours, so that's doable. But at 1:20 in the afternoon, that's my afternoon siesta time. So I don't know how I'd go with that one. 6 different waves for that, and the last one starts at 1:55. So if you're in that last wave, that's definitely past my sleep time. You get a medal for that one, a heat sheet if you're necessary, so like a mylar blanket, water. They want you to keep moving after the finish line, of course, which all marathons or half marathons do. And guess what you get? A banana at the end. Bonus.
You also get a race.
There you
go. If you look here, the races have Morton on every drink station, Morton liquid drink. You get a gel at the 11K mark. You have water at every drink station. You get a banana at the 5, 9, 14 and 17.5K mark, and you get sponges as well.
Yeah.
5, 11 and 17.5Ks.
I'd be so full from all that food on a half marathon that you don't need to eat lunch beforehand. I guess this is your lunch so that you snap it on the go.
There is a real bonus, which I'll talk about when we get to the cutoffs with the half marathon starting that late. So, but it's a real bonus for those people that might be worried about the 6-hour cutoff for the marathon.
So is your son doing the half marathon on the Sunday as well?
No, he's just doing the 7.5 on Saturday. So
not just. That's a long run for some people, Tony.
It's going to be a long run for him, Tara, to be quite honest. He's been having real IT band issues for a while. So, he's confident he's got one run in him. So that's all he's going to have.
That's all he needs. Just one. Just
do one. That's all you need.
So what do you do when you wake up in the morning at 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and you don't start your marathon till 2 o'clock? What do you do? How do you fuel your body?
Yeah, but a lot of these European marathons do start a lot later than for us. So, I mean, even like, when did London start? That was like a 9 to 10 o'clock scenario.
11.
Yeah. So they all seem to be later. So, yeah, I think 120, it would be a really hard one to get to for myself to say I'm going to go run it. But I'm stoked that they run it at that time. But for the listeners, stay tuned. I'll tell you why.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah. It sounds like the city's going to be really buzzing with so many events. Like, I've got to say, I think the race director or the race organisers who've put the races together must have had, I think, one too many cookies, because it just sounds like there's a mismatch of races, different distances, the walks prior. It's like, how many cookies and how many cake or tea did they have? But anyway,
I like the walk concepts, because I mean the reality is that there'd be a lot of people. We go to a lot of races and we all run, but then there's supporter groups and family members that don't run. So I probably agree there's too many distances in the walks, but I like the fact that they're offering a city walk that you can go and, with some experienced walkers, go see the site. So I think that so many people would appreciate that. So I think it adds to the appeal of the Amsterdam weekend, to be honest. So
no, definitely. So, Tim, what can Tony and Sharon expect from the course? Sorry, the marathon course. Let's move that, please.
Let's move to the Sunday. The Sunday is the race day. That's when the half marathon is on. It's also when the TCS Amsterdam Marathon is on. So the Amsterdam Marathon is known as a flat, fast, and historical course. It starts and finishes in the historic Olympic Stadium. And every year this leaves an unforgettable impression thanks to the presence of supporters within the Marathon Grandstand area. I'm not sure, Tony, you're probably more familiar about it. How big would the crowds be in the stadium? Have you sort of seen any videos of that?
Yeah, and the way they've set it this year, because most years I think they max out at 22,000. This year there's 30,000. So 15,000 are starting from inside the stadium and 15,000 in the secondary starting area, which I think is just outside the stadium. So it's two courses that merge into one after about 2K or something. So it's not a biggie. But apparently from what I've seen, they put the waves into the stands. So you actually then filter down when it's your turn. So looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting.
At least you get a seat and some decent toilets, you would think, as well.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
The Olympic Games were held in 1928, so the stadium might have some pretty ancient facilities. But anyway, the course itself will follow some of the traditional Olympic Games course alongside the Amstel River. It will pass through stately mansions, and you'll even get to see windmills. There you go. It offers beautiful views and gives impressions of an enormous activity and all the activity that rules around the Amstel River every day. The start time is 9 a.m. and as you said, Tony, there are two separate start areas, one inside the stadium and one outside of the stadium. Both start areas will accommodate 15,000 runners each. And I'm guessing, Tony, you and Sharon are starting inside the stadium?
Yes, we are. And inside the stadium sold out within like a day and a half, which was incredible.
Oh, so you get to choose, do you?
Yeah, so the first 15,000 registered went inside, and then it took probably another 4 weeks to sell the 15,000 outside. So,
yeah,
pretty cool.
All right. As you said, the time limit for the race is 6 hours, and we'll talk a bit about that a bit later on. Start area A, which is inside the Olympic Stadium. You start on the field inside the Olympic Stadium. After entrance through the marathon gate, you'll be directed to your start wave. Each start wave corresponds with an expected finish time, and the color on your bib number corresponds to your permitted start wave. The marathon gate opens at 7:45 a.m. And start wave 3, which is the pink, and start wave 4, which are the orange, are also accessible via the entrance stairs on the outside of the stadium. If you're starting in wave 1, which is white, or wave 2, which is yellow, you must be on the field of the stadium by 8:50 a.m. at the latest. It is important that you understand where you start and what time it starts, as it may take some time to be able to get through that area. Start area B, which is on the Stadion Weg, which is right outside the Olympic Stadium. Start waves will correspond again with expected finish times and colours on bibs, and access to that area will open from 8 a.m. Now, here's something interesting, Tony. It doesn't appear that they have a proper clothing drop area at the course, but what I could gather was that you can leave your gear stashed or stored in tents within the Olympic Stadium, and you can then come back to it, but there's no real responsibility for it at the end of the day. You just come back, and if it's there, you pick it up and take it. By the sounds of it, I'm not sure, but maybe it's a translation error out of the page that I was looking at. But that's what it sounds like, is that it's just stored in the tents around the Olympic Stadium. You can store them there from anywhere from 7:30 in the morning till 5 p.m. at night. And runners outside the stadium can do the same outside in tents, again, between 7:45 a.m. and 5 p.m. The service is free, but they are not responsible for any stolen or missing items. So I'm not sure if it's a proper drop zone or whether you just leave it lying around and pick it up later on. I'm presuming, given that it's a platinum label event, that it'll be proper drop-off points, I would think. Maybe.
Yeah, but just reading what they say, I think it's leave at own risk. So, it'll be interesting. So
yes. Yeah. But at least you can pick up your throwaway jumper at the end and come back and use it again on another course.
Yeah.
That's probably a positive. Like the half marathon, there are sponges and water stations along the route. So it is important to understand where they are. In the marathon, there are water stations at 5, 11, 15 and a half, 18, 20, 26, 30, 31, 33, 35, 38.5 and 40.5. So reasonably good spacing, but again, you've got to get to the 5Ks and then it's another 6Ks before you get your break. And then it sort of comes every 3 or 4 kilometers after that. Generally, you get both liquid nutrition, Morton, and you also get water at each of the drink stations. At 18, 30, 18Ks and 30Ks, you'll get a Morton gel offered to you. And Tara bananas are at 11, 15.5, 20, 26, 30, 35 and 38.5 kilometers. So you'll be bananaed out if you did that one.
I think this is the marathon I need to do.
And one of the things we love is a good old sponge on course, and they do have them at 11, 20, 26, 33 and 38.5K along the course. And for those who haven't used sponges, they are fantastic to just give yourself a bit of a clean, get all the salt off you and just feel a little bit more fresher. So they're really good. At the end, when you cross over the finish line, there is some Morton hydration liquid. You also get a Morton bar, some water, and a banana as well. Now, we mentioned there is some cutoffs. It is a 6-hour cutoff inside the stadium. You must be back before 5 o'clock. But there are some point cutoffs along the way as well. So you must reach the 5K mark at 10:31 a.m., which should be pretty easy. 5Ks in about an hour should be pretty easy, I would have thought. 10K mark.
But when you think about the last wave, so the last wave, I think, is at 9:43. So it works out to be about if you were to be one of the last people, you need to do 42-minute fives for 5Ks all the way through to 25.
Yeah. Yeah, because then it's 10Ks, you must be there by 11:13 a.m., 15Ks by 11:55 a.m., 20Ks by 12:36 a.m., and then you hit 25Ks at 1:18 p.m. Did I say 12:36 a.m.? I meant 12:36 p.m. at 20Ks, 1:18 p.m., at the 25k mark. Now, why is the 25k mark important, Tony?
The 25k mark is the end of the canal loop, what I'll call the canal loop, and it then joins back onto the marathon course itself. Now it's really
Half marathon.
It's the full marathon course. The half marathon comes into it. So when you get to that point on the marathon course, the next cutoff point fundamentally becomes the 26k mark, believe it or not, 26Ks. But you've got an hour to do that. So because what effectively happens is the half marathon starts at 1:20. Yeah, 1:20. And then it goes for 6 kilometers and meets up at that point on the course. So the sweeper vehicle, I'm presuming, will just stop there at the 25k mark, wait for all the half marathoners to meander through, and then go into a sweeper roll for the half marathon. So the key cutoff for those people that are like me, get worried about cutoffs. The key cutoff is you got to make that 25k. And it works out to be about 3.5 hours, roughly, give or take. So we're starting at 9:17, so we got a couple of minutes up our sleeves, so we'll be hopefully okay with that. But then once you're back on what I'm going to call the main marathon route, you ultimately then are then governed by the cutoff times of the half marathon. And but the other thing, like it is a really weird way they do it. They talk about a 6-hour cutoff for the marathon, yet the finishing line is open until 5 p.m. So if you start at 9:45, you've effectively got, what's that? 7 hours before the finish line shuts. So, and if you go back in previous results, you can see that there are a large number of people that effectively finish after the 6-hour cutoff. So I'm pretty confident that as long as we can make the 25k, that we will then be okay. So, yeah. And it's really interesting, by doing the research that I've done on it, I've actually followed some runners, some of those runners that were like 7 hours, and I've gone in and had a look at their photos. And 2 of them that I saw, there's the sweeper vehicle right behind them in the canal section. And I'm going, and initially it really did my head in, because you could see the sweeper vehicle like 100 meters behind them. And I'm going, my God. And then all of a sudden, all the rest of their photos, there's people around them. And I'm thinking, how is that? And then when they're crossing the line, it's not just them. You see all these other people. But then I worked it out. It's the half marathon that sort of kicks in. So once you get back where the marathon course joins the half marathon course, you are running with people again. So, yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it so much.
It looks awesome. And when I look at the course, it takes a little bit to work your way around it, but it is essentially a loop of Amsterdam. You start and finish in the Olympic Stadium, which is sort of southwest of the city on some of the canals over that way. You then head north before then banking around to the east at about 2Ks. And from there, you sort of then loop back towards the stadium, but not quite. And you do a bit of a loop. It looks like around a park area down there at about 7 and 8Ks before coming back against where you've just run for about another kilometre before you then head east. And this is where you start to head down into that canal section, as you say, Tony. At 12Ks, you head south, and from there you start to follow the canal all the way down to the bottom. And the bottom turnaround point's at about 19Ks on the canal, 19.5Ks. You cross over the canal, over the river at 20 or just before 20Ks, and you then head north again on the other side of the canal. So you'll have a good opportunity to see other runners on the other side of the embankment there on the canals, be able to see, no doubt, lots of boats and ships and things like that along the canal. But it'll be a good opportunity along the course with quite a few out and backs that you'll be able to see other runners, which would be good. At about 26 Ks, you then do a bit of a 180-degree turn through a park area there before you head south for another 1.5 kilometres or so before you then turn east for about 2 kilometres. And this is sort of this section that you're talking about here, isn't it, Tony, where at about 25, 26 Ks, you start hitting the half marathoners. They start to join you at that point. And then you follow the course around to the east from 28 to 30 Ks before sort of heading northwest for a little while up to 32 Ks and then zigzagging across to the northeast and then heading ultimately north. At about 35 Ks, you hit another canal. You run along that for a little while. And then basically it's a due west run through the city. Pretty straight through there, crossing over the river again, and then heading back towards the stadium. And as you say, a finish inside the stadium, which would be quite awesome. And I think you have to do a full lap of the stadium as well, I think, don't you, Tony, to finish
I believe so, yeah. Yep, that's true.
So that would be pretty awesome to run a 400 meters or thereabouts around the stadium, 300 meters around the stadium to finish inside the stadium. So, yeah, it looks really scenic, looks pretty. As far as elevation goes, I love how they scale these things, right? They make it look hilly, right? But when you look at the actual distance over 42 Ks, they've really stretched it into, 5 meter increments, and it goes to 10 meters. and the highest increment from 0 meters, the highest point is 5.1 meters. So it is pretty flat. There are a few downhills as you cross over some of those canal areas, only to come up the other side. So it looks quite steep in some of those areas when you come back, but it's only a 2 or 3 meter height difference from the low point to the high point. So it looks really fun. Once you finish, you'll receive a medal inside the stadium. I haven't seen the medal. I haven't seen what this year's one. I don't know if you've seen it, Tony.
No, I haven't.
No, I wonder what the obverse looks like compared to the reverse side of it. But you'll also get a heat sheet. You'll also get a banana and water and be told to keep moving along. So, yeah, how excited are you, Tony, for this course? It looks like it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I probably wish I was in better shape, but, that's it. That's what we've got to deal with. So I'm looking forward to it. It's flat, so there won't be any dramas with us having to struggle up some hills or whatever. I'm looking forward to, that canal bit is about 12K all up. Sorry, it's about 12K all up, which is probably going to be, you're going to see a part of Amsterdam that you're not going to see normally if you're staying in the city and whatnot. So windmills and tulips. I don't know what to expect there, but I'm expecting you get relatively good crowd support through there as well. So, I'm excited. We signed up to do it probably just a little bit after this time last year. It's certainly not our A race for this year, but I just want to experience it. And, running through historic city of Amsterdam and seeing all it's got. Now, interestingly, they were looking to change the course this year, but they've just ultimately running with the same course because of the extended numbers that they've got for this year. So I would expect next year the course will change. I don't know what it's going to change to. It's predominantly been this course probably for the last 10 years. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I get a chance to run it and I'm so excited.
There's also lots of entertainment spots along the way. So lots of live music by the looks of it on the map here as well. So that'll be interesting as well, what sort of music you get, whether you get some of the classical stuff or whether you'll get more modern stuff. But either way, it'll be quite an experience, I'd imagine.
Last year's medal was actually rectangular.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see what it's like.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that Thank you for that overview, Tim. You do a great job as always of giving our listeners an overview of the courses. Now, Tony, we're going to be tracking Sharon and yourself to make sure you get through the 42Ks, and hopefully, what we've spoken about tonight has given our listeners an insight of what Sharon and Tony are going to expect on course. Now, guys, it's that time of the week where we get the tip from Tim. So, Tim, what's your tip of the week?
Senses lace up tight, feel snug. Feel the ground like a friendly hug. Run past worries, leave them behind. Chase the wind, see what you find. Tim's tip, just keep your pace. No need to win, no need to race. Feel the earth, feel the sky. Tim's tips, just give it a try.
Okay, guys, it's starting to heat up here in Australia. I know over the last week or so, I'm coming home a lot sweatier. It's getting warmer. I'm getting worried about getting skin burned as I'm running. So my tip this week is around running in the heat. It's my annual reminder for everybody. I always say it around this time. Before you go to bed on a day when you're going to run the next day, make sure you hydrate. Make sure you're ready to go. Make sure you're fit and ready to actually run. So it means hydrating lots the day beforehand, hydrating before you go out that morning. When you're out there running, monitoring your sweat levels. If you're not sweating, you're in trouble. So it usually means you're not drinking enough and you need to keep drinking to get your sweat levels up. The other thing is to try and stay away from a lot of dehydrating type things. So salty foods, fatty foods, alcohol, and hopefully any drugs if you feel that way inclined. I guess if you're in Amsterdam, maybe. Just stay away from those, and obviously be having some cooler drinks with you. Take some water with you on a backpack, and make sure you have some hydrolyte or electrolyte afterwards when you finish as well. And then, making sure you sunscreen up, slip, slop, slap, wear your hat, wear long sleeves if you have to keep the sun off you. And, wear sunscreen as well to keep the sun off your skin. So, just my usual reminder at this time of year, everyone, do the right thing. Thanks, Lucia.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that, Tim. Now, this episode is about to end, but just before we do that, Tony, what's on for next week?
Thanks, Lucia. Well, as everyone just heard, I'm going on a little holiday over the next couple of weeks. So while I'm gone, everyone else has decided to take a break as well. But don't worry, we've been busy doing some pre-records, so we've got you covered. So I believe, so the episodes will be shorter, so about 30 to 50 minutes, I think most of them have been. So they're in place for the next 4 weeks. So on next week's episode, we're going to be talking about the Cape Town Marathon, which this year is being run for the last time in October before it switches next year to May. So on next week's show, we'll be talking everything there is to talk about when it comes to Cape Town as we take you from the Expo to the finish line and everything in between. Of course, we've got our fingers crossed for Cape Town as they strive to become the 8th World Marathon Major. And as we keep saying, we are the only podcast with 4 7-star world major marathoners. And yes, we will all be going for our 8-star sometime in the future once Cape Town is awarded the star. As usual, it will be another great episode and definitely one not to miss.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Tony. Guys, that's it for this week's show. As usual, it's been fun. It's been fun having a chat tonight about what's in store for you and Sharon over the next week or so. And we hope that you guys have a fantastic time and that everything goes to plan, and we can't wait for the updates. And we love making this podcast for you, our listeners. Let us know what you think of our race choices by sending us a message on Instagram, Facebook, or email us at happyrunning@flyingrunner.com. And maybe if you have any questions about Amsterdam that you want answered, definitely get them in, and Tony and Sharon will do their best to answer them when they're back from their holiday. You can watch this episode on YouTube, Spotify, or listen on Apple, Amazon, and all other major platforms. And every step counts. Keep running, and we'll see you next time on the Flying Runr Podcast. Happy running.
Happy
Happy
running.
running. Good luck, Tony.
Thank you.
Have fun, guys.